Margaret Harrison stood on the marble steps of her sprawling estate, watching her 11-year-old daughter Emily with a mixture of pride and concern. The morning sun cast gentle shadows across the courtyard, where 5 impeccably dressed men waited. In a neat row, each one a potential stepfather handpicked by Margaret herself. As CEO of Harrison Industries, Margaret had built her empire through careful planning and strategic decisions. But when it came to matters of the heart, well, that had always been her weakness. Her late husband, David, had been gone for 3 years now, and she felt it was time to provide Emily with a father figure. Someone stable, someone successful. Now, "Sweetheart," Margaret said softly, adjusting Emily's black dress, "these are all wonderful men. Each one could give us a good life together." The 5 suitors stood patiently. Robert, the investment banker with his practiced smile. James, the tech mogul checking his expensive watch. William, the real estate tycoon with his perfectly styled silver hair. Thomas, the pharmaceutical executive adjusting his diamond cufflinks. And Charles, the oil company president with his confident stance. But Emily's attention wasn't on any of them. Instead, her bright eyes were fixed on someone else entirely. There, near the service entrance, was Miguel Santos, the building's maintenance supervisor. He wore his simple work clothes, a light blue shirt and denim overalls, yellow cleaning gloves tucked into his belt. His dark hair was slightly tousled. From his morning work, and his weathered hands spoke of years of honest labor. Miguel had been part of their lives for over 2 years now. He always had a warm smile for Emily when she came home from school, often sharing stories about his own journey from Mexico and the dreams he held for his future. He spoke of books he read in the evenings, of the night classes he took to improve his English, of the small apartment he kept spotless for himself. "Mom," Emily said quietly, her voice carrying the wisdom that sometimes surprises us in children. "What if none of these men are right for us?" Margaret felt her chest tighten. "Sweetheart, they're all successful men. They could provide for us, give you opportunities." "But do they know that I like to read astronomy books?" Emily asked, her small finger pointing toward Miguel. "He does." "Do they know that I'm scared of thunderstorms?" "He does. When that big storm came last month, he sat with me in the lobby until you came home from your business trip." Margaret's breath caught in her throat. She remembered that night, how she'd returned to find Emily curled up in the lobby chair, fast asleep, with Miguel sitting nearby, quietly reading one of his textbooks while keeping watch over her daughter. "He brings me books from the library," Emily continued, her voice growing stronger. "Books about space and planets, and when I told him I wanted to learn Spanish, he started teaching me words. Not because you asked him to, but because he cares." The 5 wealthy suitors shifted uncomfortably, perhaps sensing that their expensive suits and impressive portfolios meant little to this perceptive child. Emily walked across the courtyard, her small black shoes clicking against the stone. She stopped directly in front of Miguel, who looked surprised and a bit worried about the attention. "Miguel," she said clearly, her young voice carrying across the silent courtyard, "would you like to have dinner with my mom and me tonight? Not as our janitor, but as our friend." Miguel's eyes filled with emotion. He glanced toward Margaret, uncertainty written across his kind face. Here was a man who had never expected anything beyond respect and fair wages for his work, suddenly, being invited into a world so different from his own. Margaret watched this scene unfold, and something shifted inside her heart. She saw how Miguel knelt down to Emily's level, how he spoke to her with genuine interest and care. She remembered all the small kindnesses, how he always made sure the building was extra quiet during Emily's study hours, how he'd helped fix Emily's bicycle without being asked, how he'd learned her favorite flowers, and made sure there were always fresh ones in the lobby vase. "Emily," Margaret said, walking across the courtyard toward them, her heels echoing in the stillness. "Why Miguel?" Emily looked up at her mother with eyes that held depths beyond her years. "Because, Mom, he's the only one who sees me. Really sees me. The others see your money, your company, your success. But Miguel, he sees us. He sees you working late and worries that you're too tired. He sees me struggling with math homework and offers to help, even though his English isn't perfect. Margaret felt tears threatening to spill. How had she missed what was right in front of her? In her pursuit of security and status, she'd nearly overlooked the man who had already become part of their family in all the ways that truly mattered. "Miguel," she said softly, her voice catching slightly. "Emily's right. You've been more of a father to her these past 2 years than I realized." Miguel stood slowly, his work boots solid on the ground. "Mrs. Harrison," he said, his accent giving warmth to his words, "I never presumed. I would never—" "I know," Margaret said, reaching out to touch his arm gently. "That's exactly why you're the right choice." The 5 suitors began to quietly disperse, understanding that no amount of wealth could compete with genuine love and connection. Their expensive cars pulled away one by one, leaving the courtyard peaceful once again. "So," Margaret said, looking between Miguel and Emily, "shall we start with that dinner Emily mentioned?" Miguel's smile was radiant. "I would be honored, Mrs. Harrison. But perhaps you could call me Miguel, and maybe I could call you Margaret?" Emily clapped her hands together, her joy infectious. "And Miguel, you can teach us both Spanish." As the 3 of them walked toward the house together, the successful CEO, her wise young daughter, and the hard-working man who had won their hearts through simple kindness, Margaret realized that sometimes the best decisions aren't made with spreadsheets and strategic planning. Sometimes the heart knows best, and sometimes the greatest wealth isn't measured in bank accounts or stock portfolios, but in the quiet moments of care, the gentle words of encouragement, and the steadfast presence of someone who loves you exactly as you are. In choosing Miguel, Emily hadn't just picked a stepfather. She had chosen love over luxury, character over capital, and authentic connection over artificial arrangement. And, in that choice, she had given her mother the greatest gift of all, the reminder that true happiness comes not from what we can buy, but from whom we choose to love.